Hello everybody, how's it going today? It's March the 17th, it's about 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we're going to talk about Bitcoin. I thought I was live streaming for the past 10 minutes, I kid you not. And then I realized that I was not live streaming, and I was actually just recording instead. So here I am, part 2, I guess, of the live stream. So let's recap what happened first of all, right? We were expecting a small bounce up here, but it simply did not happen, guys. Let's go over market cap first of all. 24-hour volume is diminishing. Slow sell-off is the way that I'm seeing it right now. We were at $5.2 billion yesterday. Now we're only at 4.3 billion. So the market cap is slowly and steadily just dropping. We were at $323,000 the last time we did a market cap update here for the entire market cap of all cryptocurrencies. 323 billion, guys. We have dropped $17 billion in the past 2 hours, not even 2 hours, about 1 hour. So here we go, where I'm mentioning that I thought we were going to shatter around the 7,800, and it's definitely not holding in the least, right? So the way that I saw my Elliott wave was like this. I saw this as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which made perfect sense. And then we have our, we'll just call this very simple, right? We'll call this ABC, somewhere up there. And then I saw this as waves 1, 2, pretty much 3, 4, and 5. Now we have to understand what a measured move is, okay? A measured move does a one-to-one extension where it hits it with precision. So this is what a measured move is called, where it literally hits the mark with perfect precision, making a one-to-one extension. So it makes entire sense to play a bounce here, right? So if I just draw some lines over here, what we see here is a pretty nice, decent price range, right here. Whoops, I'm gonna use the other tool actually called the price range tool here. So we see a price range right here of about $534. And then from here to here, we see the exact same price range, about $530. This is what's called a measured one-to-one move. So because of that happening, it made perfect sense for us to enter a trade, because we originally thought, or I originally thought, that we were going to bounce. And I made a major mistake, actually. I did not factor in. Okay, guys, this is me admitting I made a major mistake, okay? And I'll talk about the major mistake as well. The major mistake was that assuming we would bounce to a 382 fib region. Unfortunately, that didn't happen whatsoever. I'm probably gonna end up live trading in front of you guys because I feel a small support coming up. Maybe soon. Maybe around 7,600. I'll probably end up laddering my buys just to see how this goes over here, okay? Oh, maybe even right now. I want to set some limits around. I'm just doing it on my other computer here. I'm gonna probably end up buying around 76.50, just probably one Bitcoin first to see how that goes. 76.25. Yeah, 76.25. I'll start buying my first Bitcoin. So we have to understand that this one here made a pretty decent retracement, right? It retraced up to and roughly between the 0.5 and the 618 region right there. So I automatically assumed that we would hit some sort of trend line like that, right? We would hit some sort of trend line like that, and we would retain this kind of shape right over here, okay? That made a lot of sense to me. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, right? And the reason it didn't simply happen is because I thought that we would retrace to a 236 level, or at least a 0.5, somewhere up to this region. But that didn't even happen, guys. You know what happened instead? Very bearish. So bearish that it only happens 5 to 8% of the time. 382 happens about 12% of the time for Bitcoin right there. So because we retrace very little for this third wave right here, you would automatically consider that a super bearish count. And unfortunately, there's no market sentiment whatsoever of bullishness. Therefore, we simply trend down, right? And because there's no market sentiment for any type of bullishness, Well, we're now going to be looking at a fairly bearish count. Now we're going to try to zoom in as much as we can to right here and talk about supports. So this trend line is still holding, right? It's still absolutely 100% holding, where we're getting some breaks to the downside. We're getting some breaks to the upside right here. But nevertheless, this channel is holding. And that's the only thing that's saving us from grace right now. So we've now got to ask ourselves, excuse me, what is the right count, right? Is this the actual count right there? 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're getting another big wave somewhere coming downwards? Am I drawing this actual channel properly, right? Am I drawing it properly? That's another really big question as well. Sometimes it can be very subjective how we draw it. So I'm going to try my best to draw it as properly as we can. But what we can easily acknowledge is that it's not holding, guys. Right here, right? The 7,800 region completely broke through. So what you guys should have done, thank you, Zane, I appreciate that. So since it is still bearish, is it possible that we are actually in its third wave and not the fifth? Yes, we are. It is possible, and I'll give you guys that count as well, okay? So what Zane is saying is that, is it possible, excuse me, that for example, this structure right here was not, this was actually a correction structure. So if this was an actual correction structure, then what might be the case actually is, let's say we took a look at all the counts, right? Is this now a possible count where it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and the fifth one just like that touching down? So if this were the actual case, we would be looking at a count of 1, 2, and now this is 3, and now we're looking for a fourth touch. And then finally a fifth touch somewhere pretty low. So that's what Zane is saying, and that's very clever because we have to make sure that we understand there are many different possible paths for Elliott wave. And what we do as an Elliott wave tician is we try to evaluate all these possible scenarios to see what makes sense the most. So let's say we remove this trend line, okay? And we look at even this possible path. Well, is this now a possible path where this is doing 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then we finally get our major bounce before heading down? Is that possible? Because then we would see this right here as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, which makes the third wave, right? So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then now our count is entirely modified, and we get something like this, okay? Well, let's just say it was actually here. I'm not really too interested in Ethereum, Flash Pact, although I really appreciate the donation. Yeah, I'm not really interested in Ethereum at all. I'm going to keep this mainly to Bitcoin because Bitcoin will actually dictate. And to be honest, Flash Pact, every volume is declining, right? It's just kind of how it is. So let's say this was the count where it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we've got a major third wave coming down right there. And this could be a very relevant count as well, because if we remove all of this right here, what we're seeing is this has actually made a perfect measured move from this structure right there to right here, okay? Just bear with me for a second. Let's say that was 3 and 4 and 5. And now if we take our extension target, we see that it made a perfect one-to-one extension as well, right? So now a logical target would still be the 7620 range or 7650 range. So regardless of the actual Elliott wave count, it still makes sense that we're on a downtrend. And you know, we can use this very loosely. I wouldn't use it that well right now as a trendline support because we're not really getting consistency with it, right? Because the Elliott wave is simply just not matching up here whatsoever, okay? So now if we look at candlestick analysis, we look on the daily, it's looking so bearish. Excuse me. Notice how bearish this candle is? We've basically covered the entire price range of all of the past few days, right? In a big, large candle. There's not a single sign of bullishness whatsoever. There's not any type of volume whatsoever that's supporting an uptrend right now. This is not the time to go long, guys. Not at all. We are not getting any type of bullish momentum. I mean, some people might see this as a wedge, but the traditional definition for a wedge is actually very different than that, right? A wedge can only be seen in very specific structures, and I do not see this as a wedge. I'm ready to buy at 7,600 for a small bounce. I've got some of my ladders already right here at 7,700 and under to be specific. Now we look at the other time frames as well to see if it's reaching oversold, all right? Yes, it's reaching oversold. We're just about to test this trendline resistance right here, okay? Or sorry, support right there. Do you guys see how we're about to test this right here? And we're getting a clear descending type of triangle, right? Remember my descending triangles that I like to talk about on RSI? How many times can we actually support it right here on the bottom before it actually ends up down? Wow, everything is reaching oversold, 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 oversold. How many times can we actually test this structure right here before it just clearly breaks down? Is it going to keep hammering at the bottom of this RSI until it finally breaks down to a lower range, which is very likely to happen in my opinion? That's why my bearish count of 7,600 is still very much so on the table. If you guys look at over here, excuse me once again, I'm coughing a lot lately because I've been smoking too much cigarettes. I gotta stop smoking cigarettes. I smoke, it's easy to quit smoking, just so you guys know. Like, quitting smoking is really easy. I've quit at least 1,000 times. That's how easy it is. So what we see is, you know, this is a very low region of RSI, right? We're not even close to getting to an oversold region compared to where we have seen historically for Bitcoin before on a 12-hour chart. Not even close. We've seen it on this September 15th drop. Oh, that was a great drop. That was such a good drop, guys. This was probably my favorite drop of all time. I want to show you guys the drop on September 15 because of what I did with OmiziGo, okay? I just want to tell you guys a little side story here. So OmiziGo, I played this bad boy since about 50, 60 cents, okay? And it was just one of those coins that I held for a long time. And I played it like a boss, right? Like I bought it way down over here, like well under $1. So then OmiziGo was about to drop right here, okay? It was dropping. It was on its way to drop already. And then people were very surprised by this spike. Well, this spike happened because it was added to Poloniex. So much more liquidity in the market and availability, so it spiked up. And then I kept adding to my short because I knew it was temporary. And this is what happened to OmiziGo on September the 15th. A lot of people got liquidated right there. So I was shorting from a massive position all the way from about, oh, that's not it. Wrong one. Right here. That's when it was added to Poloniex right there, okay? September 12th, September 11th, lest we forget. And then I entered a massive short position. I just kept stacking up my shorts like a boss. And here's the day I made 50% or over just a few days. And that's what happened on September 15, where OmiziGo fell in 3-4 days from $14 to $6. So that's the last time that Bitcoin actually reached those types of extremely oversold RSIs, right? So according to RSI, we're nowhere even close, guys. Nowhere even close to considered oversold. Let's keep going down the time frames. Do we have any type of bullish support? Not a single bullish support here whatsoever. We're seeing very bearish types of spinning tops that are on the bottom there. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Byron. Finally figured this out. Been watching from my phone and couldn't see this part. Thanks for all you've done. Keep up the good work. Thank you. Thank you very much for the tip there. No, really, I really mean it. It's gonna buy well, Luna's got a lot of alcohol already, to be quite honest. She's got tons of alcohol. I don't think I'm ever gonna send her to rehab though, because she's much cuter when she's drunk all the time, put it that way. She's one of those dogs that just, it's kind of like, you know, that really creepy uncle, right? That creepy uncle is just a lot cooler when he's drunk, and then when he's sober, it's like he's not fun at all. So, oh yeah, she's drunk all the time. She's right behind me right now, just sleeping on the bed. She passes out for 2 hours, wakes up, gets a little bit of a shot of tequila or vodka, and then she keeps going again. Nah, Luna doesn't have a boyfriend. She's kind of she gets around a lot, put it that way. She gets around a lot, so she's not really good at maintaining stable relationships. So on the 4-hour chart, guys, we look at it very bearish, okay? We look at it on any time frame. There's not a single sign of support right now. So if you guys are entering any position, yikes. Be very careful, because I don't approve of entering any position right now for a long, okay? The only reason why we're steadily holding right now, guys, let me show you why we're steadily holding thus far, is because we're reaching kind of these wick ends right here. Sam the Carpet Man, thank you very much, okay? Sam is a really cool guy. He owns a business in New York. He's Sam the Carpet Man. He just tipped me $49.99. He's such a great guy that he's been trying to ask me for my donation addresses, right? Because he can't copy on his iPhone there for my addresses, right? And I kept telling him, don't even worry about it, Sam. The gesture alone is really generous. I guess he still found a way to get to me by helping me out there. Thank you, Sam. I sincerely appreciate it very much. I hope that I can help you guys like how I've helped a lot of people so far. So we look at here, okay, and we see this massive slope, okay. Now I want to explain to you guys the mechanics of a descending triangle. If you guys don't know, a descending triangle is considered very bearish regardless of how it is. We find ourselves reaching the same lows. In this case, it's two lows, right here, just as an example, right there and right there. Okay, yeah, sure, we might trend up to 8K, but eventually we're still going to break down out of it. Think of it as them pounding at the top, and then eventually it breaks downwards because they keep pounding it too much at the top, right? And the same thing goes for an ascending triangle as well, okay? The same mechanics. I just want to talk about triangles quickly because I like to integrate lessons into here as well. And you guys know this triangle as well. This is called an ascending triangle, okay? Now we're going to support it like this, okay? How many times can the top, do you guys see that? How every time I click, it's doing that? That's so weird. What are you doing, computer? I pay for you, TradingView. Don't you mess up on me. So if it keeps pushing up and the bulls keep getting a series of lower highs, well, eventually they're going to try to break out of it, right? That's just kind of the simple mechanics of it. And have you guys noticed the price action right now? Okay, you guys notice the price action for Bitcoin? It simply cannot stay above $7,800. Now, big question is, are we actually going to hold right here and make a slight bounce, okay? Now, it's up to you guys to take this risk to reward. I don't think it's going to happen, to be quite honest, okay? Anil asked a good question. How do markets recover from this? Volumes show lack of interest. Learning only. When I make money, I will tip. Geez, that's more than generous, Anil. Don't ever feel obligated to tip, guys, okay? It's not like I'm asking you guys to do anything, but please don't even worry about the monetary value at all. Just, I guess the point of Super Chat is to post a question that's much more visible since there's a lot in the chat. So I do see it. How does the market cover when the volume is very low? Well, a low volume will usually is indicative of a slow sell-off, right? So the market will recover at a very arbitrary time almost, right? And right now, I personally believe that there's some manipulation in the market going on, right? Everybody knows the potential of Bitcoin. It has now received a lot of mainstream attention. It's garnished tons of publicity after it's hit the $19,980 mark. And we cannot help but think that big institutions, big investment banks who control the majority of media outlets, of course, they're going to create some sort of FUD, guys. I think it was Goldman Sachs who made that post that it could possibly go to $900. You guys always hear about the tulip comparison as well. So because we have to understand liquidity, right? We have to understand that Bitcoin has a very limited market, or a limited amount of Bitcoin, right? Look at this. We're just trending at 7,720. Limited supply, guys, is only 21 billion Bitcoin, right? We're eventually going to reach a peak where it's going to be so difficult to mine Bitcoin that because the liquidity is low, the supply is going to be very low as well, which will, of course, skyrocket the demand. And because there's a limited supply, well, it makes sense for the people who are in power right now to create FUD, because they want to accumulate as much Bitcoin as they can. Now, that's just a conspiracy theory, okay? I don't really know if that's true or not, but it's hard not to believe that that's not true. So now the question is, are we going to hold here, right? We could hold here, maybe. Maybe we'll hold here, but is there a good chance? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to hold here, to be quite honest, okay? Some people are probably risking right now to enter a long position to maybe hit up to $8,000. But I think it's a good risk to reward ratio, right? Very good risk to reward ratio. But in terms of it actually being probable, I mean, that's not lightly, in my opinion, despite how good the risk to reward setup is. I mean, sure, 4.33% gain, but there's so much risk in terms of coming to the downside and breaking this right now because of how bearish the entire market is and because of the lack of volume as well, that it's hard to believe that this is going to hold. Now, even if it doesn't hold at or break down this specific moment, maybe it's only going to make a very slight bounce, okay? So I hope some of you guys got out of that trade that I posted earlier for the quick 2% gain, right? I took my trade, as you guys saw. I made a quick $200 profit there by accident, actually, or $220. So you guys have to make sure. I wasn't really on the computer a lot, but as soon as we saw these series, guys, of rejections to the upside, you gotta remember that it's important to take the profit, right? Like, we simply just could not in any way whatsoever even break above the 21 moving average. And when we were getting these series of rejections, right, I honestly wanted to tweet for people to take their profit even before that, but it would go against my ethics to make these calls, right? So we have to make sure even though the target was roughly $8,000, right? Target was roughly 8K. You guys got to make sure you understand that they're only general targets, right? It was right around there, $8,043 to $8,100. Unfortunately, when we see signs of bearish reversals like this, it's really difficult for us to even assume that. I mean, if we can't even break above the 236 Fibonacci level, guys, it is very indicative and implies that there's no way we're going to even get to a higher fib number. So if you guys are already in profit, please remember this, right? The risk to reward setup that I suggested was to enter around 78.70-ish, keep your stop loss around 7,800, shoot for a reasonable Fibonacci level, which gave us a very good risk to reward of about 2.3. So if you guys are already in the profit, what you want to do is you want to raise your stop loss to break even. Right? You raise your stop loss to break even at least, because if there is some sort of emergency where we don't hit our targets, right, you got to make sure that you just cut those losses as soon as you're about to break even, and you reevaluate if there's a lot of bearish signs. So don't think of it as a failed trade, even if you lost a little bit of money. Now, the people that are holding right now, like, you guys got to make sure that you understand that's what stop losses are for, okay? Stop losses are really critical to your success as a trader. A stop loss guarantees and ensures that you minimize your risk in the market. Day trading, swing trading, investing is all about managing your money. If someone had to ask me what is my biggest strength as a trader, hands down, I would probably say it's my ability to manage money. We factor out emotion, guys. You throw your emotions completely out the door and throw out the window by putting in risk to reward. You guys will rarely see me panic. I simply do not panic because I say to myself, math, okay? Asian level mathematics. I'm just going to stick to my risk to reward formula. If something breaks out, it's okay. We focus on making sure we win over time, and we keep this to a marathon, not a sprint. Just because you lost a war or won a war, it doesn't mean that you've lost the battle. So Pablo wrote something. He wrote, thank you very much, Pablo. I really appreciate that donation there. Thank you so much. Thanks for all your effort and help. That's my pleasure. Trust me, it's my pleasure, man. I want to see you guys succeed. Do you notice a bullish divergence in 15-minute chart that might take us to a small bounce? Let's take a look at the 15-minute chart. So the 15-minute chart here, let's see if we have any type of bullish divergence. We will spot some sort of bullish divergence by looking for maybe, yeah, maybe. That's exactly why I was saying that we might get a small bounce, but it could also just be a trending range as well here, Pablo. It could just be a really crappy trending range as well, okay? So that's really crappy the way that we're seeing this right now. Like, you know what? You guys can see RSI so many different ways. Like, just to give you an example, the way that I see this is a bearish flag, believe it or not, right? I saw this part as a bearish flag and it broke down. So bullish divergence on a 15-minute chart, yes, it can absolutely happen, right? Something like that. but doesn't it look like it needs to hit a few more peaks before it can actually bounce successfully? What we want to look for confirmation, guys, is on a higher time frame. Despite me playing these very small bounces on small time frames, that's something you have to progress to, and you have to earn the right to play in these types of circumstances on small time frames. But what we are seeing, right, on a higher time frame, let's say on a 30-minute, is we're just seeing a tear. We're seeing just a tear coming down right now, and there's no signs of massive support whatsoever yet. And yes, Pablo, there is a sign of bullish divergence, but it's not going to be until we hit roughly 7,600 in my opinion, right? Because we don't see a series of any type of candles that are indicating that we see bullish momentum. Absolutely nothing at all. We have to keep in mind my 55 moving average strategy, okay? The 55 moving average strategy goes like this. You buy it on any time frame where it breaks out, where the yellow is supporting below all of it. And then you do not sell and close your position until the yellow line actually crosses over, right around here. This is why we got a very large crossover right here with volume, because people would have bought it on $4,000, right? Actually, they would have bought it even well earlier. They would have bought it way over here, around the $700 range, until it actually crossed over to all of it, and then they would have sold their position right around here. So now on the opposite, it also applies where the yellow one is actually well above it. Thank you very much. Have you screamed out Elliott wave or Fibonacci during sex? No, I don't have sex, first of all, okay, Dwayne? I'm single. Thanks for reminding me. I really appreciate it. So Dwayne asked me, have you ever screamed out Elliott wave or Fibonacci during sex? Just reminds me of the only sideways action I ever get is in Bitcoin. I'll show you guys when I got a lot of sideways action, okay? I got a lot of sideways action right here. For this specific date, I got like literally 3 hours of sideways action. I got a lot of sideways action over here as well, okay? I live vicariously through Bitcoin because it gets more up, down, and sideways action than I'll ever get in my life. So thanks, Dwayne, for reminding me of how sad I am. I'm just kidding, Dwayne. I'm not really upset at all. I'm not upset at all. I've got my baby whales, okay? I've got my baby whales. And I'm a mama whale. How did I ever call myself mama whale? And how did we get into the whole pod thing? I don't remember. That was really funny. Are we on the fifth wave of the wave 3 down to 7,700? The retrace to 79.50 as wave 4 that meets the 15-minute divergence. Okay, let's take a look at that. That's complicated. Are we on the fifth wave of the wave 3 down? Okay, I'm gonna try to see what you're talking about here. I'm gonna go to a 15-minute chart, Lucas. I really appreciate that donation. And now you're talking about the fifth wave of the third wave coming down, right? Okay, 1, 2, yeah, it could be. It could very well be. You're talking about this one right here. That could meet at about 7,700, right? Right around here. 7,700 range. And that's what Lucas is talking about, okay? Actually, it could be right here that he could be talking about, where this is wave 1, like super tiny wave 1. That's wave 2, 3, 4, and that's 5 in there, where we get a possible fifth wave in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what Lucas is talking about, right? That meets the 15-minute divergence of the triangle. Yeah, absolutely. So Lucas is saying something very, very clever. So I'm going to explain to you guys what he's referring to right now. Okay. So you're talking about the triangle right here, right, Lucas? Where this is downtrending in a descending triangle. Okay. Where we're getting something like that. And you're talking about a possible bounce to the triangle, right? To, you know, maybe 8,800 range or something like that. Yeah, that's absolutely possible. Where if this is creating, you know, going to 7,700 range, I'll just zoom in a little bit, where we're still on the third wave coming down right here. Okay, the fifth wave of the third subwave is what he's talking about. This meets roughly at 7,700, and then here we're basically gonna meet this yellow line. That's the bearish divergence. That's basically the resistance, right? And then we just end up downtrending more. So absolutely, that's a strong possibility as well. But I'm kind of unsure right now. What I'm looking for specifically in the market to enter is extremely oversold RSI with bullish divergence on a candle. Okay, I'm looking for basically price action right now, because Elliott wave can be very confusing in the heat of the moment, right? You guys know how it is in the heat of the moment, super confusing, and sometimes it will disobey, or the waves itself can be very difficult to count. So this is almost stretching it as well right there. Some people have said that this is a wedge, right? It's going to break out. Well, we have to understand the mechanics of a wedge, okay? A wedge doesn't happen in the first or the third wave. I need to be very clear about that. Sorry, it doesn't happen in the first wave or the third wave. Wedges traditionally occur in a C position of the entire wave for all of one wave to 5, or it can come in a leading first wave diagonal where the wedge can occur like that. That is the traditional definition of Elliott wave in a wedge. So it can come in a first wave as a leading first wave diagonal, okay, just like that. And yes, it can overlap as well, okay? So it can happen in all of the first wave right there, and a wedge also occurs in the C wave. That's how I was able to nail the $6,000 bounce, if you guys have been following me for that long. So, and it can also occur in this wave right there. But the wedge, guys, does not occur in any way, okay? Any way whatsoever, shape or form in the third wave. Wave 3 always moves impulsively up or down. So that's really important to remember. So I hope that answers your question very thoroughly there. So anyone who's drawing a wedge right now is honestly just grasping on straws, in my opinion. And that's really all that they're doing, okay? So, I mean, I've even seen some people say something like this, where this is now a wedge right here, okay? They're drawing this right here as a wedge, right there. Well, where's the first wave, right? We go back to the definition of Elliott wave and how leading first wave diagonals or falling bullish wedges are defined. And we say to ourselves, why is this point even relevant, right? This is a corrective point right there. It just doesn't make sense to use it. You want to have relevant points that actually match up for Elliott waves. So the only way I can actually see this right now, if we go from a trend line analysis perspective, I right click a lot, guys, I'm sorry. Okay, is drawing our parallel channel coming down like this. Is drawing a parallel channel coming down, and we also make note of this massive trend line right here that's basically interacted with 3 points, so it's now become very, very relevant. So I'm just going to extend it down like that, and the next relevant point for trend line analysis is using a horizontal ray that goes around there, the 77 to 7K range. Now, another very relevant point would be on a 12-hour or daily chart, rather. So I'm still very bearish, guys. No, I pay for you, TradingView. Load! Sorry, guys. I get very impatient with TradingView because sometimes it messes up on me, okay? So if we take a look at possible support regions, right, from trend line analysis, we easily see that, yeah, unfortunately, the 70... I'm going to fix this up a little bit here. We still see roughly like the 7,200 is still a massive support right now, okay? So we also see a possible bounce at 7,200 on the lower barrier, because this is also the 78.6 region, right? 78.6 of the entire waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, assuming that this is the proper count here, where we get a truncated C wave or double top, however you want to see it. And we also get a triple correlation with ABC coming down. So we get basically many points around the 78.6 level, right? So because of these 3 regions, I cannot help but think that there's a strong chance for us to get there. But if we don't have a strong chance to get there, then at least it's going to be acting as a very relevant support, right? If we do get there, great. That's going to be a very strong support. I've seen some people on Twitter who have, you know, big followings, like we're talking 80, 90,000 followers, where they're saying that, okay, it could very well bounce at 7,400 as well. So we're getting signals mixed all across the board right now between 7,600 and 7,400. But nevertheless, I do believe when we actually get to 7,200, if we get there, there's going to be a major bounce. There could be even a sell-off where we get a V formation, okay? This is what a V formation is on a bounce, guys. I can't say I remember it, Zane. I'm gonna have to go over it again, okay? I'll DM you after this. I apologize for not being able to get to all of the messages. Sometimes I'm honestly just very overwhelmed with the amount of messages and comments, and I don't see them all. I'm gonna make a note actually. Tweet Zane after this. Okay, I'm gonna remember that. I promise I will, Zane. Or just tweet me again and I'll actually diligently look for it. I apologize. I'm really, really sorry for not even replying to that, okay? So if you were talking about that trend line resistance right there, Zane, that specific one, 7,600, if that's the one I'm thinking you're talking about, then absolutely, okay? Absolutely, that could be a very relevant one. Halbu, I didn't even know that you can pay for some indicators, to be honest. That's how amateur I am sometimes. I had no idea you can pay for some other than like say Tony Vays's TD sequential one. Yeah, I have no idea, but whatever floats your boat, my man. If they're good indicators, go for it. So we have to think of the mechanics of uptrends, right? Or the deep downtrends. So this is called a V. Remember this, guys. This is called a deep V type correction where we come down and bounce off of it, right? I would love to get a V correction, okay? A V correction and a bounce is so implicative, right? Think of a V like that, and also think of the volume as an opposite of a V, where it goes like that, right? Where it spikes like that. If we get any type of formation like this, where the volume is matching up with the profile of the price action, then we're gonna get a really big bounce. I'm hoping for a V. I'm hoping that the bears just end up tanking the market as much as they can, just drive it down with market executions. And if that happens, great. We'll probably end up hitting their targets. Once we hit the targets, awesome. It starts to ladder their buys. So where am I interested in buying, right? I'm interested in buying under 76.50. That's my goal. We're almost there. We're at 77.29. We look at the RSI. It's whoever mentioned earlier, I think it was Jose there, he mentioned that it might start to bullishly diverge soon, right? It definitely might. But if we look at it from the end of March 16 there, we haven't really hit a third peak yet on this particular downtrend. So maybe we'll end up getting some sort of support, but we're still not really finding some major support yet, okay? We went like a large wick to the downside and it rejecting. Let me give you guys an example of a large rejection to the downside. Wicks to the downside are very, very powerful things because they can show us that there's massive rejection to the downside. So even on like a 1 hour chart, just as an example, if this would actually load, there we go. Okay, that one didn't really show it. Let's go to like a 2 hour chart, 3 hour chart or something like that. Did it show? No, it didn't. Let's just go to a weekly, okay? Let's just go to a weekly and show you guys what like a really nice dragonfly doji is looking like. For example, on this week right there, on February the 6th, that was a really large rejection to the downside, right? We want something with a decent wick, in my opinion, or very large price action, like huge price action that dictates these large volume, right? And we want something where there's a large demand, and the large demand will just spike up the price with very low liquidity, right? If there's low liquidity, people don't want to sell. They're buying on the bottom. They're not putting up any orders whatsoever to sell, right? So right now we're seeing rejections, guys. We're seeing rejections to the downside. There's a major battle right now at the level 2 action, right? At the level 2, people are rejecting it below the 7,800 range. So yeah, we might get a small bounce soon, but I'm still not convinced that we're going to get a major bounce in any way. Despite the volume looking kind of decent, I'm still hoping to buy it a little bit cheaper because my Elliott waves, guys, I just don't believe at all in any way that we are done this correction, okay? I just cannot see it. I still see it touching one more down. I don't know how to count this. I'm lost for words with Elliott Wave right now. Maybe Sam can shed some insight on his particular time frame count there. If you guys don't know who Sam is, he's Trade Devil. I know he's in this channel watching it right now. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let's say that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Yeah, we're bouncing. Absolutely, we're bouncing, right? But is it a corrective wave? You got to remember that. The Elliott waves are incomplete. Is that 1, 2, 3, right? Right, 3, 4, and 5, something like that. Now, I've also mentioned very specifically that there's some people who's going to take. Well, Sam is very talented. I don't mind putting him in the spot as well, right? In fact, that's what we do as a trader, as an analyst. We try to look for signs from other people who might be able to shed some insight. A good trader, guys, they're not they're not really arrogant in any way in terms of ego, right? They want to actually, when they're confused, they will look to their peers and their colleagues to gain insight on what is right and what's wrong. So I've got no problem whatsoever always talking to people like Eric Cho, Johnny, that's altcoin, like Alt1 crypto there, or even Big Shed, right? We're always talking in our group chat to see what we're doing wrong, where we're gonna buy, and we coordinate. So guys, it's very obvious that we're gonna maybe bounce here. Okay, that sounds so oxymoronic. It's very obvious we're gonna maybe bounce. That's so many oxymoronic words in one sentence. But because we're at this particular trend line support right here, yeah, there's a good chance, guys, that we're gonna bounce from it, right? Really decent chance. If I extend this all the way, to back over here, is it hitting any relevant points? Absolutely there is, right? So we're getting lots of history, and this price action can easily dictate that, okay, there's a possible chance for a bounce just near these specific regions when we approach them. So now the play, like the big play, if people are waiting for the big play, is to wait if it breaks above here. But hey, if in a few days on the 18th or the 19th, if we break out of this triangle right here, right, where this is acting as a major sloped trend line support or resistance right now, yeah, that might be a very wise thing to consider to enter. Now if you guys even look on a very micro time frame, like a 5-minute chart, guys, there's no signs of bullish momentum at all. This might be seen as a bullish candle, right? A bullish break, such as an inverted hammer, but notice how quickly it was rejected as well. People might say, okay, that's an inverted hammer. It's spiking up right there with decent volume, right? But I see this as a simple rejection to the 21 EMA side, where the bulls couldn't simply sustain it. I mean, think of it. We're driving up the price to 78.45 from 77.90, so it's going up $60. If it was bullish in any way, a lot of people would be rushing in and sustaining at least the size of the candle combined with the volume, right? But if we can't even go above the 55 EMA, which we haven't gone since pretty much 6 in the morning here, well, how can we even consider this any type of bullishness? So what I'm waiting for, if I wanted to enter a swing position for long term, is I wanted to fan out like this over here, okay? This is where it will signal to the market to enter a long position, when these EMA strategies of mine will fan out, right? Right there is when you would have entered at $1,100, and you would not sell it until the 55 EMA crosses over and now acts as resistance on top of all of it. So you would have bought it at $1,000, and then you would have sold it roughly here, which guarantees that you're maximizing your profits by not taking profits too early. Yes, you'll miss the top with this strategy, but when you combine it with other advanced strategies like RSI, whatever, price action, Elliott wave, you have a much better chance of actually catching the top there. So yeah, so that's kind of where I stand, guys, with my Elliott waves count as well, with just my general trend line support and resistance. I believe that we're going to break down below it sometime soon. It might not be in the next few hours, but I do believe that within 12 hours, I unfortunately believe we're going to break down out of it, because this daily candle is just so nasty, guys. We're trading below the ranges of pretty much everything right now. It's just, wow, like, yeah. So if 7,200 doesn't hold right here, if like Sam would say, if these are actually algorithm targets right here and the computers are starting to buy, well, that'd be a great sign, because we're finding a triple confluent zone around the 7,250 range. If they don't hold, guys, yeah, honestly, if we break below 7,200, I'm just going to end up waiting for a little bounce there, and I'm just going to short the market really hard. Remember that the bulls make money, the bears make money, and the sheep and the pig, they all get slaughtered. So yeah. Phil, I tweeted you my count just now. Check it out. I will definitely check it out, man, as soon as I'm done this video. It's hard for me to also look at my tweets, because I honestly have I go away for 1 hour, and I literally have like 500 notifications. So I'm just going to try to look for it right here in front of you. I'm going to try to look for it. Do you guys see what I mean by how many tweets I have? Like, it's a lot. There we go. Hi, here, Phil. This is your count. BTC confused. I cleaned it up. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, maybe. Yeah, that's a possible count right there. That's pretty much the count that I'm banking on. But the thing about fifth wave is that Bitcoin doesn't really like to do fifth wave extensions, right? So that's something, that's pretty much the count right there that I'm looking at. But right here, the first wave, we got to remember, is usually not that extended, okay? You got to remember that it's not that extended. So if you were to clean up this right here, I would definitely clean it up this particular way, where you're looking at it like this, all right? Where, because this is now making the one-to-one extension, but this is making some extension there. So this is the one-to-one. Now that is right there, okay? Now this makes the A wave to me, where right here is one-to-one, okay? And right here, or sorry, not right there. Right here is one-to-one target, and right here is the 1.618 extension. So that's a better way to count it. You usually don't want to consider it. Consider the first wave as the longest one. I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but I just wanted to correct it so you can know as well while we're right here already. So please don't take that as a rude in any way, right? When you guys are counting your Elliott waves, try to draw it in a way that makes sense, where the wave 3 is often the longest and never the shortest, right? So, and what we actually notice here is that, you know, it might not make sense because the wave 3 is the shortest. So make sure that you're trying to make the wave 3 the longest. It's not always the longest, right? It's not always the longest, but it usually is. And Elia, thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate it. This is the fifth wave of the larger C. So couldn't your original count be correct? And this is a descending wedge. A descending wedge. Maybe, right? Maybe. I know exactly what you're saying. Like for this specific spot right here, like you're talking about how, like we know already that's basically waves 1, 2, and we'll say this is 3. Well, the wedge part here is, yeah, actually it's possible. I mean, if this was the C wave coming down here, right, where this is all A and B, I mean, if this could be a possible wedge, you're right, actually. But not from there, not from there. It would have to be from this structure right here, okay? So yeah, I didn't even think of that right there, okay? I thought people were talking about wedges all the way from way back there or something. I completely missed it. So that's absolutely possible where, but you know what? I also don't see it as a wedge because the wedge is only from wave 3, we'll say. Actually, yeah, that could be possible. You're absolutely right. So let's add this in. Thank you, Elia. That's what we do as a team, right guys? Right guys? Don't ever be shy to toss me criticism, guys. I'm very up for it. I don't give a crap if I'm wrong in any way, okay? I don't give a crap because at the end of the day, all that matters is trying to brainstorm as a community, right? If we brainstorm as a community, then we're gonna have a higher chance of being very profitable, right? So yeah, I don't really care, guys. If you guys want to criticize me, just always be positive in the space. So thank you, Elia, for bringing that up. What Elia is saying right here is could this be possible right here, where we're getting a possible, say, you know, wave 1 here, we're getting a wave 2 that touches it, we're getting a wave 3, 4, and we're looking for a fifth wave somewhere right down over here, right? Yep, definitely possible. But everybody's hoping for 7,600 at least, right? This is really slim pickings in terms of hitting to the 7,600 range. What might happen is we might get some throwovers, right? Throwovers happen all the time where they try to basically wash out the weak hands. So like what a lot of people do in leverage markets is they'll push the market down, okay? They'll push the market down with a market execution, and they'll put gigantic walls up to prevent people from buying up the price, right? This is kind of a bear strategy. So you'll keep moving the price lower and lower, right? And people just simply can't buy it up. And then the weak hands end up panicking, right? Weak hands panicking and they dump. And then the people who are also shorting their market right here, if people buy them, they're actually all short orders that they're filling, right? So because they're filling their short orders as well, what they're doing is they're simultaneously dumping the market with market executions to drive it down lower. Then it washes out the weak hands, and then a throwover happens when these weak hands get washed out, right? And then what ends up happening is it breaks out really, really, really briefly. down above the triangle, then boom, it skyrockets. And it skyrockets because these guys with the red line that drive down the price, what they do now is they change their bias for that term, right? And now all of a sudden they're closing their short positions because a lot of people were buying into strength, or they're trying to buy, but they're just filling short orders. And to close a short order, you're actually buying, you have to close your position by buying. So all of a sudden now, they create another barrier where they're creating these massive walls. People have thrown it over. Price drops to a very low price. Weak hands have been washed out. They changed their walls. Instead of pushing the market down now, they'll use long positions as buys to now drive it up while closing their long position to add strength into the market. So it's almost like liquidating their own short positions to add strength to the market. That happens all the time as well. So we're talking about throwovers, for example, a fifth wave, right? Ending a fifth wave, or this is called, you guys see this as a rising wedge, right? I call this a ending diagonal, right? Ending or leading diagonal, where throwovers can happen like this all the time as well, guys. It happens all the in my younger days. I used to trade smaller market cap coins. It was a very popular strategy, very popular strategy. So yeah, the same concept can also apply as well. So yes, absolutely, you're absolutely right that we could be in a descending wedge right now, also known as a bullish falling wedge, also known as an ending diagonal, right? Or an ending C wave diagonal. So if this actually plays out right here, fantastic, guys, fantastic. So look for this possible break, okay? I mean, but I'm still not convinced yet, right? I'm still not convinced that 7,700 is literally the bottom, because we're not really getting a lot of momentum pushing it up. The volume is also drying up right here, so it's so hard for me to believe. Thank you very much, Robert A. Thank you for everything that you guys do and for the love and support. I appreciate it. Trust me, guys, I have a lot of fun doing this, okay? I've got a lot of fun doing this. Let's take a look at I just cleared out my orders. Let's just take a look, for example, right here at the order book, okay? Let's see the market depth, okay? If you guys are ever interested in buying Udemy classes, right? I hear that Superman actually sells Udemy classes for tutorials, and he was making an introduction to his Udemy class, and he was looking through Poloniex, and then he saw market depth on there, right? And he's like, oh, market depth, no idea what that is. Let's just skip it. That's right, guys. He's selling Udemy classes and he doesn't know what market depth is. Interesting. Oh, by the way, guys, I have a new tutorial out that I'm selling on Udemy. If you guys want to buy these Udemy classes, I'm selling a Udemy class that sells another Udemy class that sells another Udemy class that sells a Udemy class finally. So if you actually want to buy my course, you have to buy 3 Udemy classes first to finally get to the final one. Hey, yo! Gotta pat myself on the back right there. Gotta pat myself on the back for that joke. That's a knee slapper moment, guys. I just slapped myself on the knee right there. That was such a good joke. Woo! Luna, you like that joke? Daddy made it. Luna? Luna, where are you? Luna! I think I left her outside, actually. Did I leave her outside? No, I don't remember. Okay, do you guys see the level 2 right here? This is called the level 2, okay? Level 2 right here is where we can see the trades, right? We can see the trade history in real time. We can see the bids. The bids are the people who are or the ask is the bids are the buyers, okay? The bids are the buyers and the ask are the people who are selling. Now, what I like to do is zoom in and out like this using the market depth book to get a visualized representation of how many people are buying. Now, this can also be used to trick a lot of newer traders, okay? If you put a big wall up there, sometimes computers and the algos will end up buying, or newer traders will be like, okay, there's a big order right now, let's just buy. So right here, we're always gonna see it moving up and down. But the way you think of the order book generally is the side that has a bigger amount in terms of color will like to push it to the other side, right? So right now though, we find it fairly balanced, okay? There's not a major demand anywhere in more than any particular place. So if we look at the price action right now, we're seeing a lot of a big battle between the bulls and the bears, right? The bulls and the bears are raging this massive war right now. Think of a tug of war. A tug of war where the bulls want to drive down the price, they want to take down profit, they want to enter short positions to try to drive down the price to profit. And then the bears, right, they attack by pushing upwards. Or sorry, the bulls attack by pushing upwards, and they want to profit by going long. That's why we're always going to see these constant battles between bulls and bears. So right now, it's a big battle at the 7,800 range, right? So I don't really see any reason to go long whatsoever. In fact, they tried to go long already, right? And they got shot down so hard, guys, when they got to 78.44. So right now, it's all about the risk and the probability, right? You want to play the game of probability right now, and unfortunately, because you don't really see that many good opportunities, why even enter a trade? It's way better to wait for confirmation than to simply take a chance and get stopped out. You know, a lot of people have very specific rules that they keep to before entering a trade. I've got many rules as well, okay? One is only buy it when you're at extremely oversold RSI and price action is starting to slowly dictate that it's a good time to buy, right? That's how you ladder your buys there. Or another rule is to simply wait for confirmation. And because none of these are extremely happening right now yet, yeah, I'm very not convinced that we're gonna go on an uptrend quite yet. But don't get me wrong. Like if I'm entirely wrong right now, okay, then I'm entirely wrong. But you got to remember that sure, this could be seen as a fifth wave, okay? But my bigger criteria to enter is get out of this channel. Get out of this channel resistance for one, and the second really big one is get outside of this massive trend line right here. So unless we break this key region right here, okay, unless we break this key region, like we're talking above, like I'm just gonna throw out a number here, unless we break like well above $8,100, then sure, I might be considered a little bit slightly more bullish bias. But guys, looking at the level 2 action, we can't even get close to $7,800, right? We're just downtrending right now. Thank you, Zane. I really appreciate that, man. Okay, Zane asks, on the 5-minute RSI, I see it moving straight with bullish divergence on the RSI. Am I reading this correctly to what you have taught? Well, reading a small time frame might not be that indicative, right? So we have to make sure that we're focusing on a higher time frame. Let me introduce to you guys a theory, okay? Yeah, I'll show you how to add that, Joshua. So let me introduce to you guys a theory called Brown Cadence's RSI rule, okay? I'm gonna Google him. Or sorry, his name is Constance Brown, RSI rule, okay? And his basic rule, I don't want to actually pull it up. I'm just gonna show you guys it over here. So his rule basically says something like this, right? Yes, sure, we might be sideways, but a general rule is a very low RSI, okay? Super low RSI to about 60 is considered a bearish zone, okay? Remember that, 60 and very low RSI is considered a bearish zone. So by his rule, we're in a bearish zone right now. A more neutral zone would be between 35 perhaps and maybe 60, or you know, maybe 30 and 65, but basically around those ranges, like 30 and 65, 35, 65, 35, 60, around those ranges considered neutral. Now, a very bullish territory would be something like this, just to show you guys on a very high time frame, okay? A bullish one would be something like come on, let's load, okay? Would be well above 40, okay? And all the way to the super high RSI range. So see right here, we're peaking at about 50 on the bottom side, and we're getting to over 90s. That is what we call a very, very bullish RSI. So reading into the 5-minute Zane right now, it might be reading into it a little bit too early right now. I would not consider even the RSI anything that's showing us signs of bullishness right now, because price action and level 2 order book dictates it otherwise. Now we might get a small uptrend, don't get me wrong, okay? But until we break above $8,100, it makes no sense for myself to enter a swing position, okay? None at all. 8,100 is going to be a very key number for me, because we'll have trended well above here, say, okay? You know, we'll have trended about outside of this key resistance that I've been seeing building up for a long time, okay? So 8,100 is where I would consider this count off the table for a bullish count, or a bearish count rather. So guys, my projection stands. 76.50, I think we're going to end up testing around here again first. If we don't hold here, okay, if we don't hold right around there, where this descending triangle just simply does not hold right here, extended for fairly far back, for example, with different areas that dictate some decent level of support right now, we just got to remember that the more times that we approach a support zone, the more likely we are to break it. The more times we approach a resistance zone, the more likely we are to break it as well. That's what Tone Vase says himself as well. So how many times are we going to chip away at the bottom until it's sold, right? So I hope that answers that. Thank you very much for asking. How do we get indicators on here, okay? We get indicators by clicking on the indicator button, wherever that one is, right here. Click on the indicator tab, type in EMA. It's called moving average exponential, right? Or exponential moving average, whatever you want to call it. Click on it once, right? Click on it once, okay? And then close that screen right there. And now you see a tiny little line here that's super thin, right? You see it's super thin right there. Let's say, and then you double click on that line that shows up, okay? Then let's say we change it to 100. Now you'll see this as the 100 moving average. That looks really crappy in my opinion. So what you want to do is choose a very bright color on your background, whatever that is. Let's say I ended up choosing something like green, okay? Now what you want to do is move this horizontal slider to make it thicker and more visible as well. You want it to be very prominent. So that's how you move. You add exponential moving average as an indicator. Now another tip I want to give you guys is an RSI tip, okay? For your RSI, it comes with a really crappy color when you first start. Super crappy color like that. That looks like garbage, right? Change it to a bright color, guys. Change it to a bright color and change the size of it, the thickness, okay? Change the thickness so you can actually see it and very visible. So I like it to be, I don't want to be straining all the time. So I like to give these kinds of tips all the time, right? So yeah. So I hope that that's helped you guys. Once again, my upper barrier where I would like it to break to completely discount my bearish view is break well above 8100. My bullish view, the moment that we break below 8600 right here, I'll probably end up taking a chance at 8650. I realize I'm probably going to get stopped out, right? But we're definitely going to get a decent bounce for a day trader. I think a lot of people will zoom into that particular price action there. And then if I don't get stopped out, great. Then break above 8100, I'll gladly ride that into a longer term position for swing. Swing is long to me. If we don't break that, guys, see you at 7200, and that's where my bias stands, okay? So 7200 seems to be aligning with all the stars right now, okay? So other than that, guys, I'm going to end up calling it. Wow, I got really worked up this video, guys. I've got so much energy and like enthusiasm, and it went over a little bit over an hour already. So I really appreciate all the love and the support, guys. I'm just exhausted today, okay? I'm probably just gonna go chat with my friend Mel for like 5 hours or something, and then I'm gonna call it a night because that's usually what I do now. Mel, are you here? Mel! Mel! I'm just gonna message her. Now I'll do it on my own time. I don't want to bother you guys. So other than that, guys, have yourselves a great day. I'll try my best to keep you guys updated with Litecoin as well, okay? I'll definitely try to keep you guys updated for Litecoin. But today, that's actually a lot of viewers. That's actually a lot of viewers here for 2000. Do you guys know I actually get more viewers than any other cryptocurrency analyst or cryptocurrency channel when they go live? I kid you not, I get way more live viewers. Apparently I'm on my way to becoming the #1 cryptocurrency channel, like in terms of viewers, etc. as well, right? So I'm kind of excited to be here with you guys as well. Now, Andre, don't you talk about my Mel coins. She's completely taken, okay? I'm just joking. Mel's just a very good friend of mine, and I'm going to visit her in Thailand in May. You guys are welcome to join me in Thailand in May. Her and I are going to go on an awesome road trip, and we're going to explore Thailand. I'm from a beautiful country called Laos, which is in between Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, Myanmar, and China. And yeah, hopefully we're going to go over to Laos and just hang out. But her and I will probably end up drinking so much in Thailand together that we're probably going to wonder how the heck did we wake up in Cambodia, knowing her and I. So yeah. So anyways, thank you very much for tuning in once again, guys. What's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Have yourselves a great night, guys. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. And I appreciate all the love and the support. And I hope you baby whales have stayed very cautious. And especially you tiny little dolphins and many, many little penguins. May you always march your way to profit. Bye now. Take care.